Tiffany Trump, yes, the quiet one, just broke her silence on dear old dad, and let's just say, it's not the usual family fanfare. Unlike her headline-loving siblings, she's stayed out of the chaos. Until now. Her latest comments about Donald Trump have people talking, some calling it shocking, others just grabbing popcorn, but the real question is, why now? And what did she actually say? Buckle up, because by the end of this, you'll either be stunned, nodding knowingly, or deep in a Trump family rabbit hole. Let's get into it. Tiffany's California escape. Marla Maples and Donald Trump's marriage may have only lasted from 1993 to 1999, but between all the headlines and high-profile drama, they had Tiffany. When the divorce was finalized, Marla packed up their lives and took her daughter far from the Trump empire, landing in the sunny suburbs of Calabasas, California. While Donald's older kids were growing up in the heart of Manhattan, surrounded by skyscrapers, high-powered meetings, and the ever-present hum of their father's ambitions, Tiffany's childhood was the exact opposite. Instead of penthouses and boardrooms, she had a backyard, a trampoline, and the kind of laid-back, nature-filled lifestyle that reminded Marla of her own southern roots. If New York was steel and ambition, Calabasas was sunshine and simplicity, exactly what Marla wanted for her little girl. And Tiffany? She embraced the quiet life, staying far from the media frenzy and political storms that later defined her father's career. While the Trump name was constantly in the headlines, she remained a mystery until now. Because Tiffany has finally decided to step forward, and what she has to say, well, let's just say it's not the kind of family praise Donald is used to hearing. So why now? And what exactly did she reveal that has everyone talking? Buckle up. This is about to get interesting. Marla's mission. Marla Maples wasn't just raising Tiffany. She was on a full-fledged mission to give her daughter a childhood that wasn't drowned in gold-plated excess. You know how some celebrity kids grow up in a bubble completely detached from reality? Marla was not about to let that happen. She poured her heart into creating a warm, grounded, and well-rounded life for Tiffany, making sure her daughter had the kind of upbringing that included more than just high society galas and last names that opened doors. Their daily routine? Wholesome to the core. Home-cooked organic meals 5 nights a week, check. Tennis matches and outdoor adventures to keep Tiffany active, of course, and humanitarian trips to places like Malawi. Marla made sure Tiffany saw life beyond privilege. But it wasn't all structured learning. There were the little things, too. Movie nights, special traditions, and mother-daughter moments that built the foundation of their bond. Now, just because Tiffany's childhood was more low-key compared to her Trump siblings didn't mean it was totally ordinary. She attended the elite Viewpoint School, where tuition alone was a cool $30,000 a year, definitely not your average high school setup. And while Marla worked hard to maintain a relaxed, down-to-earth home life, Tiffany still found herself surrounded by some pretty high-profile social circles. But Marla never lost sight of the bigger goal, helping Tiffany forge her own identity, independent of the Trump name. And Tiffany got it. She moved us out of New York to get out of the spotlight and let me grow up and find my own identity versus being in the shadow of a name, she once said. Because at the end of the day, Marla's biggest achievement wasn't just raising a Trump, it was raising Tiffany. Take a moment to unwind, grab your favorite tea or coffee, and enjoy this video with us. Tiffany's two worlds. Now, don't get it twisted. Tiffany and her father weren't estranged. Sure, she grew up on the opposite coast, but she still maintained a connection with Donald. It just wasn't an every weekend, let's go to the park kind of deal. Instead, their relationship was built around carefully planned visits. She made regular trips to New York, stayed at Trump Tower, had meals with her father and Melania, and got glimpses into the high-powered, gold-plated world her half-siblings lived in full-time. To his credit, Donald showed up for the big moments. When Tiffany had major school events or award ceremonies, he made an effort to be there. Of course, with a schedule like his, he wasn't around for the everyday stuff, homework help, school drop-offs, or late-night talks. That was all Marla. But she never let her own feelings about Donald interfere with Tiffany's bond with him. She didn't badmouth him, didn't push her own opinions, didn't turn their divorce into a battlefield. Her daddy is a good provider with education and such, but as far as time, it was just me, Marla once said. But she also made sure Tiffany had the space to form her own opinions about her father, saying, "It's important for her to form her own relationship with him, without my input." And so, Tiffany spent her childhood moving between two completely different worlds. On the West Coast, life was quiet, grounded, full of self-discovery and independence. But holidays and family visits meant stepping into a whole different reality. The fast-paced, power-driven Trump universe of Manhattan and Mar-a-Lago. While Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric were growing up as extensions of their father's empire, Tiffany was living a different version of childhood. One where normalcy was prioritized over legacy. And that was all thanks to Marla, a mother who stepped out of the spotlight so her daughter could step into it only when she was ready. Tiffany's campaign debut. When the 2016 presidential campaign kicked into high gear, Tiffany Trump found herself in unfamiliar territory. Public life, politics, and the relentless media attention that came with being a presidential candidate's daughter. Unlike Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric, who had spent years front and center in their father's business empire, Tiffany had largely remained on the sidelines, living a quieter life on the West Coast. But in 2016, everything changed. Suddenly, she was stepping onto the campaign trail, carefully navigating the fine line between showing support and staying true to her low-key nature. One of her first major public moments was attending a White House event for the Wounded Warriors Project. It wasn't a high-energy rally, a campaign speech, or a bold political statement. It was a deliberate, understated show of support. Tiffany wasn't trying to take over the spotlight or become the face of the campaign, but she also wasn't going to disappear completely. Her presence was subtle, intentional, and, in many ways, reflective of the careful balancing act she had always played in the Trump family. She was there, but on her own terms. And then came the fashion. While most political campaigns don't double as fashion runways, Tiffany's wardrobe choices became a statement of their own. Unlike her siblings, who leaned toward classic American designers, she consistently turned to Chinese designer Taorai Wang, making her pieces a signature part of her campaign-era style. She wore Wang's designs to a campaign debate on election night and even to the inauguration. Maybe it was just about personal style, or maybe it was a quiet way of standing out in a family where even the smallest choices were scrutinized as political statements. Either way, people noticed. But beyond the tailored suits and campaign events, Tiffany's involvement in 2016 gave her something even more personal: time with her father. After years of living on opposite coasts, their interactions had been mostly scheduled visits and holiday get-togethers. But during the campaign, she had a front-row seat to his world, spending more time by his side than she ever had before. While the rest of the country was watching the election unfold, Tiffany was experiencing something entirely different. A rare opportunity to step into the Trump family dynamic in a way she never had before. Tiffany's evolution on the campaign trail. Before 2016, Tiffany's relationship with Donald Trump was different from that of her siblings. More distant, shaped by the simple reality that they had grown up in entirely separate worlds. While Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric were raised in the high-stakes environment of their father's business empire, Tiffany's childhood had been far more private. But the campaign trail changed that. Private jet flights between rallies gave them rare one-on-one time. No cameras, no press, just father and daughter in a moment of connection that had been hard to come by before. Then came the 2016 Republican National Convention, Tiffany's big debut. If anyone had been wondering where she fit into the Trump political machine, this was her chance to make it clear. And to her credit, she didn't try to be something she wasn't. Instead of delivering a fiery, headline-grabbing speech like Don Jr. or a polished, corporate-style endorsement like Ivanka, Tiffany took a different approach. She spoke about personal moments with her father, how he encouraged her to strive for excellence, how he supported her, how he had a way of bringing out the best in people. No aggressive rhetoric, no bold political stances, just a daughter talking about her father. It was a calculated approach, but it also felt genuine. By 2020, though, Tiffany's tone had shifted. She wasn't just offering a heartfelt tribute. She was stepping into the political arena. Her RNC speech that year was sharper, more assertive. She urged voters to exceed political boundaries and judge leaders based on results, not rhetoric. She even took direct aim at media and tech companies, warning that people's thoughts and even votes were being manipulated and visibly coerced. It was clear, Tiffany was no longer just the quiet, fashion-forward Trump daughter. Whether it was newfound confidence or a realization that she had a role to play in the family's political brand, she was making herself heard. Donald Trump has always had a close, well-documented relationship with Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric. But Tiffany? That's been a mystery for years. Now she's finally pulling back the curtain on what's really been going on behind closed doors. And what she's saying? It's not what anyone expected. Could this be the revelation that changes everything for the Trump family? Tiffany's White House years. The relationship between Donald Trump and Tiffany changed significantly during his presidency. In the beginning, things seemed steady. Occasional phone calls, the expected holiday gatherings, but over time, the distance became more apparent. They still kept in touch, but months could pass without a single conversation. Tiffany had always lived in a separate world from her half-siblings, and while Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric were deeply involved in their father's political and business ventures, she was taking a different route. Her first real moment in Washington came when she attended a Wounded Warriors Project event. It wasn't a speech-heavy, headline-grabbing appearance, just Tiffany quietly showing her support for her father's initiatives. And honestly, that was her approach throughout his presidency, being present without making a spectacle of it. Unlike her siblings, who were actively shaping policy, giving interviews and rallying crowds, Tiffany wasn't trying to be a political figure. Instead, she was focused on something far less public but equally demanding, earning a law degree from Georgetown. It was an impressive move, considering the weight of her last name followed her everywhere. She had every reason to take an easy, high-profile path, but she chose to build something for herself, separate from the political storm surrounding her family. Of course, being the president's daughter meant that no matter how private she tried to be, the media was always watching. And in 2019, she found herself at the center of an unexpected controversy. A White House assistant, Madeleine Westerhout, reportedly claimed that Trump didn't like taking pictures with Tiffany because of her body. Yeah. Imagine hearing that about your own father from someone inside his own administration. The media jumped on it, and suddenly, Tiffany's relationship with her father was under a harsh spotlight. Trump tried to do damage control, publicly stating, "I love Tiffany." But by then, the speculation had taken off. Whether it was true or not, it reignited the question that had followed Tiffany for years. Just how close was she to her father? If you enjoyed this video, drop a 1 in the comments, and if not, let me know with a 0. I appreciate your feedback. Tiffany's 2020 shift. Despite the speculation about her relationship with her father, Tiffany still showed up when it mattered. At the 2020 Republican National Convention, she took the stage once again, but this time, the energy was different. Gone was the warm, personal tribute from 2016. This wasn't just a daughter vouching for her father's character. This time, Tiffany came with a message, and it wasn't about family values. She took a direct stance against media bias, warning that public opinion was being manipulated and urging people to think for themselves. It was a bold move, especially for someone who had largely stayed out of the political fray. While her siblings had spent years solidifying their roles in Trump's political orbit, Tiffany had been more of an outsider. Yet here she was, not just lending her support but making a pointed statement about media influence and control. But here's what stood out the most. Unlike Ivanka, who always framed her father in deeply personal terms, Tiffany kept things formal. There were no heartfelt father-daughter anecdotes, no stories about Trump as a doting dad. Instead, her speech was purely policy-driven, focusing on endorsements rather than emotions. And that alone spoke volumes. Tiffany's balancing act. Even though she wasn't always at the White House, Tiffany made time for family when it counted. Holidays at Mar-a-Lago? Check. Family gatherings? She was there, though not the one posting every moment online. But no worries, Ivanka had that covered, making sure Tiffany appeared in carefully curated social media snapshots of Trump family events. It was a subtle reminder that, while she wasn't deeply embedded in the political machine, she wasn't completely detached either. Tiffany managed to walk a fine line, staying connected but maintaining her independence. In a family where public loyalty often seemed like a requirement, she found a way to be present without being overexposed. And that wasn't easy, especially when the Trump name meant relentless scrutiny no matter where she went. Unlike her siblings, who had spent years shaping their public personas alongside their father, Tiffany remained the most private member of the Trump family until now. Because Tiffany Trump is finally speaking out, and what she just revealed about Donald Trump, it has everyone talking. What did she say? And why is it so shocking? Stay tuned, because this changes everything. Tiffany's new role. Tiffany Trump's relationship with her father has always been one of the more intriguing dynamics within the Trump family. Unlike her older siblings, who were deeply embedded in their father's business and later his political empire, Tiffany was raised outside that world. Thanks to her mother, Marla Maples, she grew up with a sense of privacy that her half-siblings never really had. But now, in 2024 and 2025, things are shifting in unexpected ways. With Ivanka stepping back from politics and Eric and Don Jr. maintaining their full-throttle public support, Tiffany is stepping into a role that reflects both her love for her father and her need to maintain her own identity. And honestly, that's no easy balancing act, especially in a family where public loyalty is practically a brand requirement. Take the Milwaukee Convention in early 2025. It was supposed to be just another event in the endless cycle of Trump political rallies, but it ended up revealing something far more interesting. When Tiffany walked up to her father, she was all smiles, arms open for an embrace. But something about the moment felt off. Was it the awkward timing? The cameras zooming in on every second? Or was it the weight of their complicated history playing out in real time? Whatever it was, Tiffany handled it with her usual grace, quickly regaining her composure and returning to her seat beside her husband, Michael Boulos. A small moment, sure, but one that spoke volumes. It showed a daughter who was present, supportive, but still figuring out exactly where she fits in her father's world. And it's not just one moment. Tiffany's growing involvement in Trump's political sphere has been making headlines for a while now. She's spoken at rallies, appeared at key campaign events, and even taken the stage in Reading, Pennsylvania, where she delivered a heartfelt speech saying, "Hello, we love you, we support you, and my father's here fighting for you, and he's never gonna let you down." That's a bold statement. But what really stood out was the sincerity in her voice. She wasn't just reading from a teleprompter or going through the motions, she was there, fully present. And this has become a pattern. At the Detroit Economic Club event, Trump proudly announced her pregnancy, calling her an exceptional young woman. At a Pittsburgh campaign gathering, he openly acknowledged how his children have chosen different levels of involvement. Tiffany, it seems, is now carving out a space for herself, not just as Donald Trump's daughter, but as someone stepping into a larger role in her own way. Tiffany's quiet evolution. Behind the scenes, sources close to the family say something interesting is happening. Trump's children, including Tiffany, have grown to trust his current political advisors more than before. And with that, their dynamic with him has shifted. It's no longer just about playing their expected roles in the grand political theater. It's about figuring out what their relationships actually are beyond the campaign trail. For Tiffany, that means navigating the delicate balance of supporting her father while still holding on to her own identity, something that has always been tricky, but now seems to be falling into place. At its core, this isn't just about politics or public appearances. It's about a daughter who spent years defining herself outside of her father's shadow, now slowly finding ways to reconnect with him on her terms. It's about a father who, despite all his bravado and larger-than-life presence, seems to genuinely appreciate the daughter who once stood at the fringes of his world. And it's about the natural evolution of family, the way relationships shift, how priorities change, and how, in the end, the things that truly matter aren't always the ones making the headlines. Tiffany Trump may never be the loudest or most visible member of the Trump family, and honestly, that's probably exactly the way she wants it. But there's no denying that her relationship with her father has changed. And in a world where every move they make is scrutinized, that change is worth paying attention to. So, that's what Tiffany had to say about her father. But what about her beloved husband? If you thought the Trump family dynamics were intriguing, just wait. Recently, Tiffany dropped a revelation about her marriage that no one saw coming. And let's just say, it's got people talking. Tiffany's billionaire romance. In the summer of 2018, Tiffany Trump's life took an unexpected turn, right in the middle of the dazzling waters and buzzing beach clubs of Greece. There, at a celebrity-filled party, she met him, Michael Boulos, a young businessman from an ultra-wealthy Lebanese family with a sprawling business empire in Nigeria. And in true high society fashion, their fateful meeting didn't happen just anywhere. It was at Lindsay Lohan's nightclub. Because, of course, where else would a Trump heiress and a billionaire heir cross paths? Sparks flew, and suddenly, Tiffany found herself stepping into a whole new chapter, one that would catapult her even further into the public eye. Michael's background couldn't have been more different from Tiffany's. Born in Lebanon and raised in Nigeria, he was part of the influential Boulos family, whose multi-billion-dollar empire spans Africa and the Middle East, covering industries from distribution to power bike manufacturing. By the time he met Tiffany, Michael was already making a name for himself as a director in his family's businesses. But when their romance went public, the media couldn't get enough. Was this just a summer fling? A power match between two elite families? Or was there something real beneath the luxury vacations and high-profile appearances? The press dissected every detail, and speculation ran wild. Some doubted how a Lebanese-Nigerian billionaire and the daughter of a former U.S. president could make it work. And to add another layer of intrigue, the Boulos family, accustomed to their own brand of power and prestige, approached the Trump name with careful curiosity. While Donald Trump built his empire on bold, headline-making moves, Michael's family was known for its more traditional, reserved approach to wealth and influence. This contrast only made their relationship more fascinating. At first, skeptics wondered how long it would last. With Michael's massive fortune and Tiffany's political connections, was this just a convenient pairing of status and wealth? Or was there something deeper at play? Whatever the case, one thing was certain. Tiffany and Michael's love story was anything but ordinary. Tiffany's wedding drama. The wedding that almost didn't happen turned into a modern fairy tale at Donald Trump's lavish Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida in 2022. Every detail was meticulously planned, from the stunning floral displays to Tiffany's breathtaking Ely Saab gown. The event was designed to unite two powerful families and featured an extravagant 8-tier cake, live performances, and a VIP guest list of 250. Her siblings were there, with Ivanka standing by her side as a bridesmaid. But just days before the big day, disaster struck. Hurricane Nicole barreled toward Florida's Atlantic coast, forcing evacuations and throwing everything into chaos. Mar-a-Lago was boarded up, travel plans were disrupted, and suddenly, Tiffany's dream wedding was hanging by a thread. Those close to the family say she was on the verge of panic, unsure if the ceremony would even happen. But as the storm passed and the estate remained intact, the wedding went ahead as planned. Donald Trump walked her down the aisle under an archway of vibrant flowers, a picture-perfect moment that reminded the world of the powerful name she carries. Yet while the storm outside had passed, whispers of deeper tensions remained. A marriage between two families with such high profiles was never going to be simple. Now people are wondering what kind of pressures Tiffany and Michael might be facing, enough for her to finally break her silence. Is it family expectations, cultural differences, or something even more personal? With rumors swirling about hidden struggles, Tiffany's decision to speak out has sparked intense curiosity. The once private Trump is ready to open up, and the world is waiting to hear what she has to say next. Tiffany's marriage pressures. Behind all the glamour, Tiffany and Michael's marriage comes with its own set of challenges, ones that go far beyond typical newlywed struggles. Both come from powerful, long-established families where reputation and legacy matter, adding pressure to an already high-profile union. And with Tiffany carrying the Trump name, the scrutiny is relentless. Unlike her politically active siblings, Tiffany once kept a low profile, but her marriage to Michael has placed her firmly back in the spotlight. Every move she makes is analyzed, not just as a public figure, but as a Trump. While Michael's family is influential in business, they've traditionally maintained a lower public profile, making Tiffany's very visible world a potential culture shock. Beyond the media attention, their backgrounds add another layer of complexity. Michael, raised in Nigeria with Lebanese heritage, comes from a family with different expectations regarding marriage, roles, and public appearances, differences that could require major adjustments. And under the relentless gaze of the media and political world, even small challenges can feel magnified. Tiffany's recent decision to speak out might be her way of addressing these pressures, offering the world a glimpse into a reality far more complicated than the fairy tale wedding photos suggested. While being a Trump comes with undeniable privileges, for Tiffany it's also been a double-edged sword, one that has given her status and opportunity, but also challenges she's only now beginning to reveal. Tiffany's struggle for acceptance. Throughout her life, Tiffany Trump's role within the family dynamic has been more about quiet support than active involvement. While her father, Donald Trump, made occasional trips to California to celebrate milestones in her life, she was never in the intense spotlight that her siblings seemed to embrace. As a result, she was often seen as the quieter, lesser-known Trump, shielded from the media frenzy, but also left to carve out her own identity in a family where visibility and loyalty seemed to go hand in hand. Her struggle for acceptance became especially evident during Donald Trump's presidential campaigns. While her siblings took on high-profile roles, Tiffany often felt like an outsider. She stood on stage at key campaign events, delivered speeches supporting her father, and made appearances when needed. But her involvement was minimal compared to Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric. Ivanka held a senior advisory role in the White House, while Don Jr. and Eric managed the family business and aggressively pushed their father's political agenda. Tiffany's participation, in contrast, felt more symbolic, more about presenting a united family front than playing a substantive role. This difference in involvement may have only reinforced how distant her relationship with her father was compared to her siblings. While Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric had spent years shaping Trump's empire and his political career, Tiffany's connection to him seemed far more limited. Those close to the family suggest that she may have felt a constant need to prove her loyalty, struggling with a sense of exclusion that likely weighed heavily on her. We truly appreciate you for sticking around and watching our video. Leave a 2 in the comments to let me know you are still here with us. Tiffany's balancing act. Tiffany Trump finds herself in a tricky position, supporting her family's political ambitions while also respecting the values of Michael Boulos's world. Are they opposites or soulmates? The media loves to highlight their cultural differences, with some speculating that these could cause major challenges. But if their actions say anything, it's that their bond is built on something deeper: shared goals, mutual respect, and a quiet but steady commitment to each other. Friends close to the couple insist their relationship is solid. Tiffany admires Michael's grounded and steady nature, while Michael values her independence and strength. Together, they've worked hard to balance their public lives with their private moments. Whether blending family traditions or showing up for one another at events, their relationship seems rooted in love, not just obligation. And when media scrutiny intensifies, they don't let it shake them. Instead, they seem to double down on their partnership, handling criticism with a maturity that has only strengthened them as a team. For years, Tiffany kept her personal life away from the spotlight. But recently, she opened up in an interview, offering a rare glimpse into what it's really like to be both a Trump and a Boulos. "It's time to tell the truth," she said, admitting that while she deeply loves her husband, balancing the expectations of two powerful families has been tougher than she ever imagined. Her honesty marked a shift from her usual reserved approach, revealing a side of her the public had never seen. Tiffany spoke candidly about the pressures of navigating two high-profile legacies. "Michael is my grounding force," she shared, but acknowledged that the constant public scrutiny and the weight of family expectations can feel overwhelming. Her biggest struggle? Staying true to herself while honoring both her father's big, high-profile ambitions and the quieter, more private lifestyle of the Boulos family. Fans were surprised by how open she was, especially when she admitted that public skepticism about her marriage has affected her at times. "People love to speculate, but they don't see the real us," she said, pushing back against the idea that their relationship is just one of convenience. Tiffany's decision to break her silence has left a lasting impression. Her honesty is refreshing, especially for those who understand how difficult life in the public eye can be. By opening up, she's offered a rare glimpse into the personal struggles behind the glamour. And if one thing is clear, it's that Tiffany Trump's story is far from over. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating stories. Want more? Click on the next video popping up on your screen for even more thrilling content.